With phones and smartwatches, technology has already become an extension of self. But this is just the beginning, as in the future, you're going to have more options of embedding technology into your bodies. And it's going to give you superhuman-like powers, whether that's a chip in your brain, bionic eyes to improve your eyesight, or digital taste buds. There'll be ways to upgrade your intelligence, physical abilities, and senses. So I've been wondering about what sort of things may be on offer in the nearer future, and what decisions may we need to take as individuals about whether to opt in or opt out of getting these upgrades over the next couple of decades. And if you do decide to opt out, will there be consequences for you? For example, will a two-tier class system emerge between enhanced and unenhanced humans? So in this video, we're going to take a bit of a whirlwind tour around the topic, and that should start to help you keep an eye out for signals to look so that you can spot where we're headed. And it will also allow you to form your own point of view about whether or not you get any of these upgrades that'll be on offer over the next decade. If you're new here, welcome to Futureflect. The world's changing fast and it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but here we calmly reflect on the future together, empowering us to not just survive, but thrive in this world of change. Now, before we get into some example of the upgrades possible, I want to quickly share one key idea I learned that's actually been around for a while, and it will help you interpret a lot of what you're going to see over the next decade or two. The term or the idea is called transhumanism, in other words, beyond humans. And simplifying it slightly, it's a belief system that says humans should overcome any limitations of our mind and body via enhancements. Now, yes, I know that sounds exactly like something a drug dealer with a PhD may say to you on a street corner. But transhumanists tend to believe that technology in particular will allow us to be unshackled, ending our resilience on V 1.0 bodies into a much more durable V 2.0 version of our mind and bodies. And as I learned about this concept of transhumanism, I realized it's starting to pop up in various guises. For example, you may have come across the Enhanced Olympic Games, which is a proposal by a private backer for an event in 2025 where the athletes will not be subject to doping testing and can start to use things like prosthetic limbs or more advanced shoe technology, anything to help push the boundaries of what's possible. Okay, so that's the key idea, but what sort of upgrades and enhancements might you be able to get in the future? Now, we mentioned the Olympics, so let's start with physical strength. In Japan, they've got an aging population, as will many other countries over the next decade or two. So to help keep people working, they've been experimenting and have started to develop a powered exoskeleton. So here we can see a lower back version worn as a backpack, and because it's powered by motors and elastics, it sort of allows the wearers to lift heavy objects weighing tens of kilograms with a really low burden on the body. Now, I'm inclined to take one of these into my gym on leg day. That'll really impress Darren. Now, other enhancements will include sensory capabilities like bionic eyes, so devices that could restore some vision to people with certain types of blindness. And companies such as Vision are developing augmented reality contact lenses. Enhanced taste is also becoming an option for people with disorders. Here, Taste Buddy is a device that places a small tab on a person's tongue and stimulates taste buds through thermal and electrical signals. If you could make kale taste like candy floss, I think there'd be a lot of healthier people out there. There's also likely to be things that you can implant right into your skin that somehow help you bridge the divide between the digital and physical world. So here's Walleter, a skin implant that then lets you pay seamlessly. Now, you might think that's a pretty trivial use case, but you could imagine how implanted sensors could be expanded to, say, become a digital assistant in other ways. So, for example, recently Friend AI announced a wearable, for now, device that is always listening via its onboard microphone, that is then able to send you unprompted messages, whether that's an idea to enhance your conversation, encourage you, or even tease you for being rubbish at a video game. Though I already get enough FIFA back chat from my brother, so I don't think I need that from AI as well. But there'll be a range of cognitive enhancements available, some via pharmacology like nootropics, but also brain-computer interfaces such as Elon Musk's Neuralink. In fact, I found this idea of cognitive enhancement to be so interesting that we'll perhaps cover it in its own video another time. So, you started to get a feel for what can be enhanced, but what will the journey look like to get there? What signals should you be keeping an eye out for over the next few years to figure out whether or not this is happening? Steve Fuller is an academic who covers transhumanism, amongst other topics, and he really kindly contributed some insights for this part of the video. I've linked to his book in the description if you want to learn more. The key signal will be societal adoption of enhancements. Steve feels that once the door is open, we'd only need a few people to enter into it to show us and the rest of the world what life could be like if, people were to enhance their physical body and that was to become the norm. So it's more a matter of when will we reach this tipping point? Other signals you might see are the legal system and religious groups starting to voice strong opinions on this topic. That would mean that the tech is getting really close to becoming a reality, and they've noticed. Some signals to watch out for may also include the behavior of the employment market. Do employers start to help fund certain enhancement for their employees to do their jobs better? Do they start to softly express that preference in how they hire? What I also noticed is that a lot of the examples we covered earlier in the video were therapeutic. Say the bionic eyes. At the moment, they were being used to treat a disorder rather than enhance what we already have. But this is arguably just a natural cycle of how technology is deployed. As things start out, they're riskier, so it makes sense to focus it on therapeutic cases where you can get really big upside. But as the tech becomes less risky over time, you can start using it for enhancements too. Steve pointed out that cosmetic surgery is a good illustration of this concept. Its initial use was more in World War II to treat injured soldiers, but it's those very same doctors who started out that way who then started performing the first enhancement surgery for Hollywood celebrities, and from there it became available more widely. So, by studying that example more closely, you may be then able to watch out for some of the same signals in this situation. Now, perhaps one of the most telling anecdotes Steve shared was his experience at a cyborg Q&A panel. He asked the able-bodied audience how many of them would get tech or enhancements like prosthetics or surgery, even if it's not needed to upgrade their perfectly well-functioning arms and legs, etc. 40% of people put their hands up. Now, yes, it's a cyborg panel, but no one on the panel was advocating for these surgeries to happen. They all just wanted these upgrades. And it was an illustration of consumer choice. And consumer choice may be the biggest driver that pushes this through. So, on that note, let's get back to the question we posed at the beginning. Should or would you get one of these enhancements in future? Well, as always on Futureflect, I'm going to encourage you to form your own point of view. Particularly in this case, as the decision to enhance or not is going to be a deeply personal one. Many will argue that we should respect individual autonomy and allow people to decide what's right for their bodies and lives. The one bit I'm personally really uneasy about is the potential for a divide between the enhanced and unenhanced, an emergence of a two-tier society. I feel like I'd want to dig into that a lot more, so if you're interested in a separate video on that, let me know and I can work on something. Ultimately though, I do recognize that human progress has been about pushing through boundaries, whether that's been geographical boundaries as the first humans came out of Africa, or even planetary boundaries as we touched the moon and Mars. And now it seems the next boundary we'll be pushing are of our own biology and bodies. And as we blur the lines between human and machine, we'll need to grapple with the philosophical question about what is the essence of humanity? What makes us human? And what are the limits of enhancement before we may effectively become a new species, a sort of a hybrid between carbon and silicon rather than one that's just carbon-based? Although plastic surgeons in LA would say we're already in that future. I'm just kidding. Anyway, these are crucial discussions that will start to crop up over the next 10 years in different ways. And I hope you feel a little bit more empowered now to spot, understand, and participate in those discussions. So, will you be stitching tech into your body in the future? Will you embrace the transhumanist vision or stick with your version 1 self? In the comments, please share your perspective, concerns, and hopes for this fascinating future. Thanks for watching, and as always, remember to stay curious to stay ahead.